Hello, church family. Hey, guys. It's good to be with you. Thanks for tuning in to this first attempt at a video recording presentation. We'll see how it goes. I'm a little behind the curve on this stuff. Trying to catch up, but we'll see how it goes today. First of all, I want to start out by wishing you all a nice Sabbath, a happy Sabbath. And if you're still hanging in there at the end of this presentation, which I promise won't be lengthy, let me say thanks ahead of time. If I've counted correctly, this is like the 9th Sabbath that we've been apart and not being able to meet together. And of course, we're still trying to figure out what it's going to take to get back together, when we can get back together at the church. We can get together like this as a church, but we'd like to be together at the building, of course. So with the coronavirus in the news and on everybody's minds, I thought this would be a good time to talk about death. A morbid subject, Dot says, but the prospect of death is, it's on everybody's mind. It's got everybody's attention. This virus, that's now a worldwide pandemic, has turned the world on its head, and it might, in fact, just change the way that we live permanently. It's reminding all of us again of the fragility of life and the possibility of a quick departure from it. It's a highly efficient virus, we're told, easily spread, and scientists are scrambling to develop a vaccine against it and identify any existing medicines that might work against it. I looked at my Bible's concordance and couldn't find the term coronavirus there, but I did find pestilence and death. Jesus said in Luke 21 verse 11, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven." Who among you this morning wants to die within the next few days or weeks? Start a line right here. I don't want to be in that line, but I'll organize it. God has placed inside each one of us this instinctual desire to remain alive. It's natural. We don't normally want to die. As Woody Allen once quipped, "I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens." In recent weeks, Dot has been concerned about me working down at the courthouse, sending disinfectants with me, insisting that I wash my hands a lot and don't touch my face, something I'm normally bad about doing. Isn't it a nice feeling knowing that your spouse doesn't wish you dead? I think so. She got very concerned when we found out that the first confirmed case of coronavirus in our county had visited the courthouse where I work back on March 4th, while apparently contagious, but before being diagnosed with the virus. As a result, me and my fellow screeners down at the bankruptcy court had to self-quarantine until 14 days had expired. We were allowed to return to work on Wednesday, April the 18th. Since then, the court has drastically altered its operations and doing just about everything telephonically. We screeners have been scaled back as well, but we're still working in two-person shifts on kind of a part-time basis. In the meantime, Dot has been filling me with all sorts of vitamins and supplements and exhorting me to vastly improve my personal hygiene, which I didn't think was all that bad to begin with. Everybody's on high alert to the potentiality of catching this virus that can quickly make death a reality for us. The possibility of soon dying makes people think differently, makes us do strange things, and oddly enough, not always kind things. It should cause us to seek peace with God, if we haven't already in our lives. But for many of us, it's really hard to accept that it might actually happen to me. I do know that death is a certainty, but just not for myself, not now, not yet. But unless we are alive to be caught up into the clouds to meet Jesus when he returns, when he comes back to us, we will most certainly someday die. And someday, maybe very soon, sooner than we think. And that's true always, not just when we have a pandemic. We just don't think about it as much. Death is the most democratic event in history. Death is the destiny of every man, Ecclesiastes 7 verse 2 tells us. The living should take this to heart. Recently I read the following commentary by the late evangelist Billy Graham on the subject of death. Life is like a shadow, wrote Dr. Graham, like a fleeting cloud moving across the face of the sun. King David said, "We are aliens and pilgrims, as were all of our fathers. Our days on earth are as a shadow." 1 Chronicles 29:15. The world is not a permanent home for anyone, he continued. It is only a temporary place to dwell physically. The Bible tells us that the days of mankind are numbered. When English patriot Sir William Russell went to the scaffold in 1683, he took his watch out of his pocket and handed it to the physician who attended him in his death. "Would you kindly take my timepiece?" he asked. "I have no use for it. I am now dealing with eternity." Time slips away for everyone. Long ago, a friend went for a ride one day, never dreaming it would be his last ride on earth. He swerved to avoid hitting a car, ran into another car, and was thrown from his vehicle and killed. The news reports such instances daily, stories of death coming suddenly to those who had no idea they were living their last moments on earth. It is reasonable, even responsible, to ask how people would live if they knew it was their last day on earth. For one day it will be, Dr. Graham writes. The Bible teaches that God knows the exact moment when each man is to die. Job 14, verse 5. There are appointed bounds beyond which we cannot pass. When a person is prepared to die, he or she is also prepared to live. The primary goal in life, then, should be to prepare for death, Dr. Graham writes. Everything else is secondary. Do you agree with that statement? I do. And how do we best prepare for death? By living. Just live? No. Living for God. Living for Jesus. No doubt you're familiar with Tim McGraw's song, "Live Like You Were Dying," about a man who learned he didn't have much time to live. I was in my early 40s, the song goes, with a lot of life before me, and a moment came that stopped me on a dime. I spent most of the next days looking at the x-rays, talking about the options and talking about sweet time. Remember how the news changed that man who received it? It goes on, "I was finally the husband that most of the time I wasn't. and I became a friend would like to have. I finally read the good book, and I took a good, long, hard look at what I'd do if I could do it all again. And I loved deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness I'd been denying. And I loved deeper. And he said, someday I hope you'll get the chance to live like you were dying. Like tomorrow was a gift, and you've got eternity to think about. What you'd do with it. What you could do with it. What did I do with it? What would I do with it? The song goes. When a person is prepared to die, he or she is also prepared to live. Friends, I do believe that's true. The question I need to ask myself, and perhaps you need to ask yourself, is, am I living like I was dying? Remember the old slogan, you only go around once in life? That statement applies only to the life we're living in this current skin that we've, but we won't be in this skin forever. I know that my Redeemer lives, said Job, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes, I and not another. How my heart yearns within me. That's found in Job 19, verses 25 through 27. I am the resurrection and the life, Jesus proclaimed. He who believes in me will live, even though he dies. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. John 11, verse 25. Now we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, wrote Paul, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven not built by human hands. For while we are in this tent, we groan and are burdened, because we do not wish to be unclothed, but to be clothed with our heavenly dwelling, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. Now it is God who has made us for this very purpose and has given us the Spirit as a deposit, guaranteeing what is to come. 2 Corinthians 5, verses 1 and 4 and 5. In Hebrews chapter 9, verses 27 and 28, the writer is seen right through the grave and into eternity when he writes, just as man is destined to die once, and after that to face judgment, so Christ was sacrificed once to take away the sins of many people. And he will appear a second time, not to bear sin, but to bring salvation to those who are waiting for him. Hebrews 9, verses 27 and 28. My friends, I hope that we can all live like we are dying in our time here on earth, however long that may be. Not in the sense of the fallen world in which we now live, but rather in terms of the world that is coming, the righteous, eternal kingdom that is coming, as described in the passages we just read. Because when we're prepared to die, we're truly prepared to live. Let's believe that. Let's live it. May God bless and keep you in the days ahead. And I hope you'll tune in again next Sabbath and see how we can do this again. Love you all. Bye-bye.